Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome back to another shir on this week's Parsha, PARSHAS Ki SAVO, a very difficult Parsha to get through. It's really all about the klalos, the curses that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings to the Jewish people, but we're not going to focus in on the curses. We know that the Gemara tells us, why did we learn this Parsha right before Rosh Hashana? We should think about more exciting things before Rosh Hashana. Why so many curses? And the answer the Gemara gives is because Tichla Hashana u'klaloseha. Let's finish off the year and all of the curses that were there. V'tochel Hashana u'birchaiseha. Let's start the new year filled with brachas, filled with blessings. So we're not going to speak about curses tonight. I want to speak about a very famous question when it comes to Rosh Hashana. And perhaps we'll see a beautiful idea in this week's Parsha to come and answer it. If you look carefully at the liturgy, at the machzor of all of our prayers, we look in the words of Chazal, of our sages, although that we think that Rosh Hashana is an individual judgment on Klal Yisrael, nevertheless, it's very clear from the davening and from the words of our sages that kol boy olam, all of the people in the world come before HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana, v'nidaim b'mishpat, and they are judged with justice and judgment. The entire world on Rosh Hashana, like we say, Yom Haras Olam, this is the day in which the world was created. It's the day in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is revisiting our life and the life of mankind, and He is making decisions of what is going to be for the up and coming year. So the question is the following. If on Rosh Hashana HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging the entire world, each and every one of the 8 billion people that are walking around this universe, so how come only Klal Yisrael is in shul? How come only the Jewish people are spending the month of Elul preparing ourselves, getting ready, trying to adorn ourselves in the most spiritual way, so that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks at us on Rosh Hashana, we will find favor in His eyes, and we are worthy of receiving another year of life. On Rosh Hashana, everybody knows you walk to shul, it's business as usual and normal out there on the streets. This year Rosh Hashana is Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, people are going to work, people are going to school. People are in the bars, people are in the clubs, people are going to the football games, Monday night football. It's all happening this year. And Klal Yisrael is busy 48 hours in shul. We're busy davening and begging for our lives. Zachreinu l'chaim, remember us for life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hearing the shofar blast, thinking about what it means to be a Jew. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want of us? So how come we're the only ones who know? How come the whole world is not privy to this secret information? That as they are running to the amphitheater on Monday night, or as they are what do they call it? The armchair quarterback, and they're calling all the shots of the game Monday night this year, or maybe Sunday night, I don't know. How come they are not aware of the judgment that is going on, and for them as well it's being decided what kind of a year it's going to be? All of the kings are they are in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The way that this country is going to take shape and form, or look like it has no shape or form for the up and coming year, it's being decided and determined by HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana. There's a king, there's a new monarch in England that was decided last year on Rosh Hashana that he's going to enter into the monarchy right before our new year. And yet Klal Yisrael is the nation who understands that there's a God who's the king of the universe. He's watching over us, He's judging us, He's examining our deeds. He wants us to shape up for the up and coming year. How come we are the only ones who know such a thing? In this week's parsha, in the very beginning, we have the mitzvah of Bikurim, which is the first fruits. As we know, the Torah tells us that when the Jewish people will come to Eretz Yisrael, they will have a new mitzvah that they have to fulfill. It's called Bikurim, the first fruits of the Zion minim of the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael. They will bring those first, choicest of fruits to the Beis HaMikdash. They'll offer them to the Kohanim. There's a whole proclamation that they will make, speaking about our long history and our Kodesh Baruch Hu has protected us and taken care of us through thick and through thin. We'll express our great Akaras HaTov, our tremendous gratitude to Hashem for everything that He has done. So the Rabbeinu Bechaya has, in every parsha, he always has what's called a Hakdam. He has an introduction to the parsha, and then he begins to explain the parsha as well. In his Hakdam, in his introduction to this week's parsha, he goes on the verse that says, Umereishis kol tivuasecha. Mireishis, from the beginning, from the first of all of your produce, you're going to bring to the Kohen in the Beis HaMikdash. And Rabbeinu Bechaya says over the following, Nikru Yisrael Reishis. The Jewish people are called Reishis. Reish Ayin Shin Yutav. Rosh Reishis. We are called the firsts. Shenemar, like it says, Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reishis Tivasai. The Jewish people are holy to the Rebbeinu Shalom. We are Reishis. We are the first of His harvest. We are the first of His fruits. We are the first in this world. And therefore, Klal Yisrael is fitting to know and to recognize Hashem. Why? Shu Reishis Kol Reishis, because Hashem is the first of all firsts, the point of all of existence. The Reishis, the beginning of all existence, is the Rebbeinu Shalom. Anything that exists in this world is because there is a Rebbeinu Shalom that existed before all of that. So whatever came into the world, the creation of the world, all the beings, everything that is here, it only exists because there is a Reishis, there is an initiator. And the original one is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ulechabdai mireishis kol tvuasehem, and therefore we have an obligation to honor the Reishis, the initiator of all of life, all of this world, from our harvest. And therefore he writes, V'zois kavanas haTorah. This is what the Torah had in mind, b'mitzvahs habikorim. Shem Reishis, the bikorim, the first fruits, are Reishis. Sha'atorah chiva liyisrael shenikru Reishis. It's the first thing that the Torah obligates us in. And we are called Reishis. We are the first ones. Laleches alamakim shu Reishis, where we're going to go to the place in Yerushalayim that is also called Reishis, the first one, which we know as the Beis HaMikdash. Mitzion nishtachle el yofyoi shel olam. V'laseis el hakayin, then you're going to give it to the Kayin. Shehu Reishis ha'avayda. He's the first one in all of the Avayda, all the work in the Beis HaMikdash. Risha in the Meshaisei HaKodesh, he's the first one to be involved in the service of Kedusha, of holiness. Ulehavi Elam Bikorim Mereshis Kol Pri Adama, and they will bring forth the first fruits of everything that grows in the land. Says Rabbeinu Bechaya, the mitzvah over here of bringing Bikorim, which is Umireshis Kol Tivuasecha, from the first of all of your harvest, of all of your produce and your fruits, is a line, a chain of Reishis, of first ones. Number one, Klal Yisrael is Reishis. We are the first ones. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like we say in the very beginning of the Chumash, Bishvil Yisrael, the world was created Bishvil, before Yisrael, Shenikru Reishis, Bereishis, in the beginning. It was for Klal Yisrael. And Bishvil Torah, it was created for the Torah because the Torah is called Nikru Reishis. It's the first of Hashem's ways that He teaches over to the world, that this is what it means to be a human being and how to live a life. So Klal Yisrael is Reishis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Reishis, because He's the Reishis of Kol Reishis. He's the initiator, the beginning of everything. Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, Tzion, the heart Tzion, where the Beis HaMikdash will be standing, is Reishis. It's also the first, as we know. Chazal tell us that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, where was the beginning of the world created from? The world was created from one form of dirt. And from that form of dirt, HaKadosh Baruch Hu pulled out the entire universe. Say Chazal, where was that? That was Har HaBayis. The dirt that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the entire universe from was the Har HaBayis, was the patch of land that would eventually become the Temple Mount where the Beis HaMikdash would be standing. So that's also Rashis. That's the beginning of the creation itself. And then when we come into Eretz Yisrael, so it seems that he's saying the first of the commands that we are given of how we're going to behave in the Holy Land is take from the Rashis, take from the beginning, the first of your fruits, of the 7 species that are special to Eretz Yisrael, bring it over to the Beis HaMikdash, which is Rashis, and you bring it to the Kayin, who is Rashis, who is the beginning of all of the service of holiness and Kedusha in the Beis HaMikdash, and you will fulfill a mitzvah of Rashis, of beginning. What does that have to do with Rosh Hashana? Rabbi Chaya continues and he says like this. It says in the Pasuk, it says, Mirashis, what does it mean that you bring from the first of the fruits? Min HaMuvchar, from the choicest of all of the fruits is what you're going to bring. Kamay v'Rashis shmanav yimshechu, fine. V'chein b'kol davar mitzvah, b'kol davar mitzvah, in every single mitzvah that a person does. Oy kol davar shad makdish, or anything that a person sanctifies to Hashem. Umakriv, and he will bring as a korban. La Kodesh Baruch Hu, tzarich sheyiyeh min hamuvchar. It has to be from the best, from the choicest things that are there. What is Rashis? Rashis, the beginning, doesn't only mean that it's the first. It also means that it is the choicest. It is the best quality that you could possibly bring. And he brings, like we find by Hevel, Cain and Hevel. They were both told to bring a sacrifice, bring something to Hashem. And we know that Hevel was the one who ended up bringing the korban min hamuvchar. He brought his from the best of the flock that he had. Cain brought from the less of what he had. And that's the whole ensuming of the jealousy and the killing and everything. You have to bring mirashis from min hamuvchar, from the best that is there. Rosh Hashana is called Rosh Hashana. It is the Rosh, it is the Rashis, it is the beginning of the year, it is the head of the year. Only somebody who understands what a Rashis, what a beginning is, only someone who understands what a Rosh, what a head is, only someone who understands what min hamuvchar, from bringing from the best, really is, only that person is privy to understand what Rosh Hashanah is really going to be all about. Klal Yisrael is Rashis. Torah is Rashis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Rashis. Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, the Har HaBayis is Rashis. The Bikurim is Rashis, is the beginning. The year that we are about to embark upon next Sunday night, Tav Shin Pei Gimel Haba Aleinu L'Tova, is the Rashis, is the beginning. It's Min HaMuvchar, the choicest time of the entire year. As Rav Shimshon Pincus points out, that when you're standing at the threshold of the end of last year and the beginning of the new year, so everything that you got from last year, it's done, it's finished. Whatever you pulled out of that year, whatever muvchar, whatever choicest things you got, however you were able to grow and to learn and to become better to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's done. When the new year comes in, the old koichos, the old potential goes out, and the new year is infused with a new year of potential, of opportunity, of greatness that is awaiting each and every single one of us. And therefore, it would seem to be that Rosh Hashana, which is the first of the year, it's the Rashis of everything. Only someone that is living in a world of Rashis. Rashis doesn't only mean the first. Where we're living, we're trying to do everything min hamuvchar, the best. When you are mekadesh something, when you bring something to sanctity, you bring the best. You buy tefillin. I once had somebody that used to be at the shul, and every year when it would come time for Sukkot, every year without fail, he would always say to me, he says, I don't need one of those fancy esrogim. Just get me the one, the cheaper one. So I used to think to myself, if you don't want to spend the money, so tell me, you know what? You're not used to spending so much money on a citron. But don't say it in such, I don't need one of those fancy esrogim. Just give me one of the cheaper ones. A Jew, when he does a mitzvah, a Jew is looking to do a mitzvah in the best possible way, min amuvchar. The beginning of the year, which is the rashis, which is the beginning, is laden with koiches, with abilities that only a person who is in tune with what the rush, the head is all about, only that person is going to be able to grab on chaparain, as we say, into the koiches that are there in the beginning of the year on Rosh Hashana. Now there is a pasuk that speaks about the korban, the sacrifice of Rosh Hashana. And it says the following, Va'asisem oila, you should bring an oila, an elevated offering, an elevation offering, l'reach nichayach la'Hashem, as a pleasant fragrance before Hashem. And it goes on to explain which animal to use, how to bring it, so on and so forth. The Das Kenim on this verse is bothered by the following question. In every other korban, in every other sacrifice that the Torah is speaking about over here, it says the word, v'hikraftem, you should be makriv, you should bring this animal as a korban to Hashem. But on Rosh Hashana it says, v'asisem oila l'reich nichayach, you should make an elevation offering. Asisem, you should make an elevation offering to Hashem. How come by every other korban it says, v'yikraftem, you should bring it, be makriv, bring it close as a korban? And Rosh Hashana says you should make a korban, you should make a sacrifice that is pleasing to Hashem. And he says over the following idea. He says, Ma'ishna mikuluhu, why is this different than every other korban? D'chsibu v'yikraftem, that you should be makriv, you should bring it. V'yesh loymar, and he says, because Rosh Hashana shuhu yom adin. Rosh Hashana is a day of judgment. Umeshenichnesu ledin, and when the Jewish people will enter into judgment, Heim Nasim Bria Chadasha, they make themselves into a Bria Chadasha, into a new creation, a new being, a new entity. Vizehu, and that's why he says, if you look through the piyutim, you look through the prayers that we have on Rosh Hashana, one of them says that he makes a brand new creation. And therefore, over here, when it comes to Rosh Hashana, the reason it says, V'asisem, you should make, it means you should make yourselves into a korban, into a sacrifice that is going to be offered in front of Hashem on Rosh Hashana. You are the one that is bringing yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana, which means that you have an obligation to bring yourself as like a korban to Hashem. How does a person bring a korban to Hashem? Only min amuvcha, you always bring the best. If you always bring the best, that means that on Rosh Hashana, a person has to bring their best selves to Rosh Hashana. You bring out the best of who you are. You don't focus in on what took place last year. Forget about it. We all made mistakes. Because Baruch Hu doesn't want you to beat yourself over the head all of Rosh Hashana. How could I have done this? Why did I do that? What's going to be with me? Don't think like that. That's not your best self. That's your guilty self. Nobody ever was able to go forward if they're sitting in a state of guilt. But if a person comes on Rosh Hashanah and they're living in their best self, they're living min amuvchar, from the choices of who they are, v'asisem oilo l'reich nichayach la'Hashem, and you make yourself a pleasing fragrance to the Ribbono Shel Olam by doing what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to do. So then you are the rashis, You are the one that is choicest. You are the one that is the beginning, and you are the one that will be able to understand what a Rosh Hashana is all about, and you will use the 48 hours of Rosh Hashana that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us to be able to raise ourselves up to the head, and then be able to make ourselves the min hamuvchar, the choices that we possibly can be. Like Chazal tell us that Chacham Einov B'roshai. A wise man, his eyes are in his head. Well, everybody's eyes are in their head. What does that mean, that the wise man, his eyes are in his head? It means that the wise man is always looking. He's always above. He's always looking. What else could I do? Where else could I improve? How else can I grow? How else can I avoid situations that are going to become problematic? How can I do all of that? Rosh Hashanah is the Rosh, it's the head of the year. That means that at the head of the year, a person's eyes have to be focused in. What would I like to accomplish in the up and coming year? What would I like to achieve? By the secular New Year, it's always about diets. That's about all that they want to accomplish for the up and coming year. I am taking a New Year's resolution that by next year, January 1st, 2023, I will have lost 15.5 pounds. Then when they get to 2023, okay, didn't work last year. This year my resolution is I will lose now 30 pounds because I put on another 15 pounds. The resolutions that a Jew will make on a Rosh Hashanah, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, is much greater than that. Than just how much weight. You want to make a resolution, you're going to be healthier. You'll take care of yourself. You get the right amount of sleep. You know, I see a doctor over here, so it always reminds me, all of the people that I ever taught that were doctors, they always told me that when they were going through the residency, there's no time to sleep. You're working literally around the clock. So you have a guy that's going to become a doctor. He's caring for people's health. That's what a doctor does. He's a roife. He's a healer. He's caring for people's health. But he doesn't take care of his own health. The guy's living on Snickers and Dr. Pepper and Red Bull all night long. He's running 60 hours straight without even getting into bed and sleeping. How is that man going to make a decision that is best for my health? How does he do such a thing? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that on Rosh Hashanah a person comes and they make resolutions. How am I going to be able to bring out the muvchar, the best of who I am in the up and coming year? Everybody knows the very famous story that is told of the Nitziv. The Nitziv, Rav Naftali Tzvi Yehuda, Berlin. He was, I believe, the son-in-law of Rav Chaim Volozhiner, and he was one of the last Rosh Yeshivas in the Volozhiner Yeshiva before it closed down, under the political pressure that there was in the country. The Nitziv was a giant. He was one of the most incredible Talmidei Chachamim, one of the biggest Gedolei Yisrael, the greatest leaders of the generation. And the Nitziv once called together his Talmidim and his family and his friends, and he said, I'm making a siyum. I'm making a siyum on a sefer, on a book that I just wrote. I'd like you to join me for this siyum. And everybody thought it was very strange and peculiar. The Nitziv is making a siyum because he wrote a book. First of all, you don't make a siyum when you write it. When you finish Shas, you make a siyum. When you finish a Masech, you finish a tractate in Gemara, you make a siyum. You finish certain things in Tanakh, you did it with a nice perush in there, you make a siyum. A person finishes a sefer, you could be happy. You could be very proud. Maybe you'll make a shechianu, but what, you're going to show off to everybody, I'm making a siyum because I wrote a sefer? People don't do that. So everybody was very puzzled. Why isn't Nitziv doing this? So they came to the siyum, and the Nitziv knew what everybody was thinking, and he got up to speak. And he said over the famous story that everybody knows. He says, you're probably all wondering, why am I making a siyum? People don't make a siyum when they finish a sefer, when they write a sefer, when they publish a sefer. But I want to tell you why I'm making a siyum. He said, many years ago when I was a young boy, I was not what was called the best student in the class. I was a bit of a wilde chaya, wild kid. I was a practical jokester. I didn't really pay attention. My learning was not very good. I was not successful in cheder in school. And I was resigned to probably not going very far at all in my career of learning. One day I came home from school, and I walk into the house, and I hear my parents arguing behind the closed door. And I come to the door, and I try to get inside. The door is locked. So I look through the keyhole to see what's going on, and my mother and my father are talking, and my mother is shaking her head, and she says, "What's going to be with Naftali Tzvi Yehuda?" And my father said, "What's the big deal? So he doesn't have a brain to learn. So he doesn't have the zitzfleisch, he can't sit. So what? So he'll become a shoemaker, something like that. He'll be ehrlich, he'll be honest. He'll have a good little parnas over there. He'll get married, he'll have children. He'll be fine. What's the problem?" And he said, at that moment, my mother began to cry. And she started crying. She says, "No, this is Naftali Tzvi Yehuda. He has so much potential. He can be so great. He can accomplish so much in his life. He's got to sit and learn. He's got to be more serious. He could do it. I know that he could do it." And then my mother broke down. She started crying. I watched everything. I heard everything. And I was seized at that moment with a hisayrus, with a moment of inspiration. And I knocked on the door, and my mother let me in, and I told my mother, "Mommy, Mamale, I promise you I won't let you down. I'm going to start learning. I'm going to take it seriously. I'll pay attention to my Rabbi. I'll stop playing jokes. I'm going to learn." I went back to school the next day. You think it was easy? You're a practical jokester. You don't pay attention all these years. You think it's easy? No, it's not easy. I pushed myself again and again and again and again. And I grew in my learning. I grew in my studies. I grew in my chachma, my wisdom. Till I got to the point that I was able to write a sefer, and then another one, another one. I'm a Rosh Yeshiva of Volozhin, the biggest yeshiva in the world. So why am I making a siyum? Because I thought to myself the following, as I'm publishing my this latest sefer. Imagine that I never heard my mother cry. Imagine I never saw the conversation between my mother and my father. Imagine. I would have dropped out of cheder. I would have become a shoemaker. I would have a nice little parnasa. I would have had a wife and children, raised a family. All would have been just fine. But after 120 years, I would have gone to Shemayim. And I would have gone up to the throne of glory. And I would have brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu my nicest pair of shoes. And Hashem would ask me, "Excuse me, Naftali Tzvi Yehuda, I didn't ask you for a pair of shoes. Where's the Emek Davar?" And I would say, "Emek what?" And he would ask me again, "Where is your sefer, the Emek Davar, on the Chumash that you wrote so masterfully?" I would have said, "HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a shoemaker. I know leather, I know straps, I know laces, I know soles. I don't know anything about a sefer on the Chumash. What are you talking about?" And then Hashem would have shown me a picture. And there would have been a picture of a man with a long white beard, piercing blue eyes, large payas, sitting there with a pile of svarim, and he would say, "That's you? And those are your svarim? Because that's who you were supposed to become." Said the Nitziv to the crowd that had assembled, "Now I know that after 120 years, when I will go up to Shemayim and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to ask me, 'Nu, Naftali Tzvi, where's the Emek Davar?' I'll say, 'Here you go, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.' 'And where's the sefer that you wrote on the Gemara?' 'Here it is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.' 'And the one on Halacha?' 'Here it is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.' Because the Chacham who's Einav B'Roshai, the one whose eyes are in his head, he's able to see beyond what is right here and right now. And he's able to realize there's so much more in my life that I could accomplish if I just set my sights straight on that. In the beginning of Rosh Hashana, or the Rosh Hashana, the beginning of the year, where we are rashis, our Torah is rashis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is rashis, the year is rashis, is new. A person has to take advantage of those precious moments. Recognize what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging us on, what He wants from us. And then make decisions in one's life that I'm going to accomplish more in the up and coming year than I did in the year past. And therefore, Klal Yisrael is the nation that is privy to the secret of Rosh Hashanah. We are privy to understand that there is a Yom Tov that is coming, that is going to be glorious and stupendous and incredible, with opportunities every single minute of the day that is there to elevate ourselves, to rise up to the challenges, to chart a course for the up and coming year. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care so much, even though that you have this drilled into your head that He does. He doesn't care so much about what you did not accomplish last year. He cares about what you will accomplish on Rosh Hashanah and what you have in mind for yourself to accomplish for the up and coming year. Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, the great Rosh Hashiva of the Mir Yeshiva Zatzal, one year on Rosh Hashanah, he was a man who struggled with Parkinson's for the last 25 years of his life. His body shook. He couldn't even get words out of his mouth often. And on Rosh Hashanah, he was standing and he was davening by his shtender. And people noticed that during the Chazoras Hashatz, during the repetition, he kept looking out the window and he was looking at something far off in the distance. And after the davening was over, somebody came over and said, Rosh Hashiva, what does the Rosh Hashiva see over there? And he said, I see a parcel of land. And I was dreaming of the new Beis Midrash for the yeshiva that I'm going to build on that parcel of land this year. You have a man that's 65 years old. He's suffering from Parkinson's for 25 years. He's got the yoke of a yeshiva that's the largest budget in the entire world, millions and millions and millions of dollars. The largest yeshiva with over 10,000, 15,000 boys and young men that are learning there. And on Rosh Hashanah, he's not worried about how much money he has to raise. He's not worried about every single boy that he's watching over, even though he did. He's not worrying about his health. What's going to be with my health the up and coming year? I can barely walk anymore. I can barely talk anymore. Chacham Eina B'Roshai. He was looking forward. And what was he looking at? He was looking at, what am I going to be able to build for the up and coming year? What are we building? V'asisem oila l'reach nichayach la'Hashem. You are making yourselves into an oila, to an elevation offering, where a person has to be moving up in this world. And it'll be a pleasant fragrance to the Ribbono Shel Olam. If you come prepared on Rosh Hashanah, and you come ready to engage in the glorious days, and you are ready to go and to think to yourself, what could I do? Because I'm rashis, I'm mir amuvchar, I'm the best, I'm the choicest. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen me. He didn't choose the other nations of the world and tell them Rosh Hashanah is here. He chose me. And we have a shofar that we can blow, that can change things around. We have all the machzor, the davening that we have, that can connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu like never before any other day of the year. And if we do that, and if we think like that, and we live like that, throughout those glorious days, and it carries us into the Yisera Simei Tshuva and the Yom Kippur, you will emerge, as the Das HaKenim says, a Bria Chadasha, a brand new creation after Rosh Hashanah, after Yom Kippur. And if, Be'ez Hashem, a person will be careful enough to do such a thing, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will grant every single one of us that gift of life. The gift of life where we are the rashis, where we are the ones that are trying to become the best, that we possibly could become in the up and coming year. I want to leave you off with a ma'aseh, with a story about the power of Rosh Hashana, that we should understand what you could accomplish on those days is not like any other day of the year. You think about it. I thought about this many, many years ago. We daven every day. We daven every day of the week. Shachris, Mincha, Maariv, Shabbos, a little bit more, infused sometimes with feeling and meaning. And on Rosh Hashanah, the ikar, the most important thing that we do the whole day, it's all davening. Talking to Hashem. The whole day is talking to Hashem. Hours and hours and hours in shul. Hours of going to the machzor. Hours of talking, of thinking, introspection. Tefillah, the word lehispalel, is an introspective word. It means to think. So many hours on Rosh Hashanah, you're able to be introspective with yourself and think about your relationship. And as you're talking to Hashem, see what it really means. So our prayers are very powerful on Rosh Hashanah. There was a young man in a yeshiva called Beis Shraga in Monsey, New York. His name was Chaim. And for years, this young man was experiencing pain in his feet. But around Pesach time of that particular year, it was throbbing beyond belief and he was in excruciating pain. He went to some podiatrists. They took a look at his foot. They told him it was probably like juvenile arthritis or something like that. They gave him special insoles in his shoes to alleviate the discomfort. Nothing worked. Not only did it not work, the pain was getting worse and worse and worse. So he went to some specialists, some doctors, and they said, no, it's not arthritis. We made a mistake. Went on like this for months. Every month, a different doctor, a different specialist. By the time the summer arrives, there's a young man over here, Chaim. By the time that the summer comes, from Pesach to the summer, he could barely even stand anymore. That's how excruciating the pain was in his feet. He goes to other doctors. He's referred to other specialists, new physicians. They take blood tests, and they're trying to determine what is the source of the pain of his feet. And with every test and every doctor, they rule out it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. So then, doctor, what is it? He needed a good pain management specialist. What is it? Nobody could give him an answer. He even went to one of the most prominent doctors who works in a big hospital in Manhattan, and this doctor gave him pain medication, and even that didn't work. So he's got nothing going for himself now. It's the summertime. He's having difficulty standing, walking. Every step that he takes is painful. He eventually goes with his family on a trip to Eretz Yisrael that summer. And his family is jet-setting around the country, and he is in so much pain, he can barely even leave the room. He comes back to America. He goes to another specialist. He takes more tests, more x-rays, more everything. No answers, nothing. It's getting to the point where his friends are telling him, you're a hypochondriac, man. Just live with the pain. What are you complaining about? Everybody has foot pain. Everybody has aches and pains. You're going crazy about nothing. Comes along Elul's-man. So remember, Pesach, the pain got worse. The whole summer, it's getting excruciatingly worse. He can barely walk, he can barely stand. Now comes Elul, the beginning of Elul for the yeshiva. He comes back to Beis Shraga, to the yeshiva in Monsey. He's a shell of the person that he used to be. He's weak, he's tired, he's got headaches. And the people are telling him, Chaim, come on, snap out of it. Just get over it already. He goes to the doctors again, and the doctors say, we have no idea. They're throwing up their hands. They have no idea at all what is going on. Yom Noraim are coming close. And after Rosh Hashanah, we all know that there's a day called Tzom Gedalia. It's because you ate so much on Rosh Hashanah, you have to fast the day afterwards. That's not why. So we fast on Tzom Gedalia. And he didn't think that he'd be able to fast. His feet are killing him. His head is aching. His body is shvach, is weak. So he went to the Paisik, he went to the Rav, and the Rav said, you do not have to fast on Tzom Gedalia. You're not in condition to fast. And Yom Kippur, we'll have to wait till we get there. We don't even know if you can fast on Yom Kippur this year. So he's coming to Rosh Hashanah. And he is convinced he's going to be sitting down the entire time. He doesn't even think he'll be able to get through the machzor. He can't concentrate anymore. He remembered as Rosh Hashana was coming, he remembered that there's a Zayar that says over the following. That Rosh Hashana, as we pointed out, is the Yom Adin, it's the day of judgment. And there are certain times on that day of judgment that if a person is sensitive to it, they will feel a hisayrus, an inspiration, an elevation. And when they feel that quaking and that shaking, and they feel the goosebumps and they feel the intensity of a moment that it came out of nowhere, they should know that's the moment that they are being judged on Rosh Hashanah. That is the moment. Being judged. So Chaim remembered this. And suddenly on Rosh Hashanah, on the first day, right before Tekiyah Shofar, suddenly he gets this feeling, this intense feeling, the goosebumps are coming, he feels his neshama stirring inside of him, and he realizes that this is the moment where he is being judged by HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah. And suddenly, like a dam that bursts, he begins bawling his eyes out and crying to Hashem the whole last 6 months or the year of his life, all the pain, all the suffering, going to the doctors, nobody knows what's wrong with him. He's just bawling and crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as his body is shaking with his tears, he remembered that he learned once that if you'll daven in the right way, HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot say no. And what is the right way? Asay leman shemecha, asay leman yiminecha. Which is what? I'm not doing this for myself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You should do for me so that I can do for you. You should make me better so that I can serve you better. So your name will be great and your hand will be revealed in this world. And so he keeps saying over these words, Asay leman shemecha, asay leman yiminecha. And he's davening, Lemancha Elokim Chayim, like we say in the davening, not for my sake, for your sake, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the living God. Crying and sobbing and davening. His body is shaking, and the tears are pouring down his face, and he's crying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I can't be an Oved Hashem, I can't even serve you the way that I am. I can't learn Torah like this. I can't do all the things I'm supposed to be doing. You put me in this world to serve you, didn't you, Hashem? So please, I'm begging you, give me back my koicha, my strength, and my ability so I can be normal again and I can serve you in the proper way. And as Chaim concluded the most powerful prayer of his entire life, suddenly, Tekiyah Shofar begins. And Chaim got himself back together, and he listened to the shofar blasting. And then he realized that something felt very different in him. He felt like a Bria Chadasha, like a new person. Suddenly standing, which beforehand was almost impossible, he finds himself standing, he's comfortable. Everything is fine. And incredibly, although he thought that he would have to sit for the entire Musaf prayer, even in his silent Shemona Esrei, he finds himself standing and shuckling and davening the entire Musaf, which is a very long, from beginning to the end of Chazaras Hashatz, very long. It could be 3 hours possibly. After Yom Tov, he goes to the Rav who told him he didn't have to fast on Tzom Gedalia. And he told him, Rabbi, I don't know what happened to me on Rosh Hashana. I poured out my heart to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He answered my prayers. I'm feeling better. Can I fast? And the Rav told him, you can try to fast. If you see it's getting hard, you break the fast, but you can try. And he tried, and he finished the fast. No problem. Now comes Shabbos Shuvah, the Shabbos in between Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur. Chaim has not worn a normal pair of shoes in over 6 months. Shabbos Shuvah is coming. He says, you know what? Let me try to slip on my Shabbos shoes. Maybe in honor of the Shabbos Shuvah, the Shabbos of return, I'll be able to wear my Shabbos shoes. He puts them on. Fine. No problem. No pain, no aches, no sores, nothing. He goes the whole day. And then comes Yom Kippur. And he said to the Rav, can I fast? The Rav said, Chaim, go ahead. If you see you get weak, you'll come and you'll ask me, go ahead, try. And he fasted on Yom Kippur, and he felt stronger with more gesund, more koiches than he ever had before. And every single day that Chaim would wake up from Rosh Hashana, Aseret Tshuva, Yom Kippur, and even today, and he realizes that his health has been restored, he pins it all on one moment. The moment on Rosh Hashanah that he poured out his heart to the Rebbeinu Shalom and said, it's not about me, Hashem. Lemancha Hashem, Lemancha Hashem Elokim Chayim, it's all about you. We're here in this world to serve you. We're here in this world to bring a korban of ourselves to you. We're here in this world to be an oil to go up for you, Hashem. And I can't do it the way that I am right now. Make me this Bria Chadasha. Make me a new entity. And sure enough, he was made into a new entity. The Rosh Hashana, the beginning of the year, is coming. We are the Rosh. We are the beginning. We are Min HaMuvcha. We are the best. We're the choices that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has made from the entire 8 billion people in the world. There's 16 million people, and another 16 million. How many know that it's Rosh Hashanah? The whole world, what do they think? Rosh Hashanah is dipping an apple in honey. That's about it. Drive to shul, hear the choir, do whatever you want. No, Rosh Hashanah for the few that understand. We're the muvcha, we're the chosen ones. And therefore we have to take an opportunity. We have to take an opportunity on these precious days to lift ourselves up, to bring out the koiches, the power that's inside of us, and make a decision of who we are going to be for the up and coming year. And if we'll be that chacham that eino b'roisha, the eyes are in the head, and we see what we have and who we are and what we could be, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you are exactly the rashis. You are exactly the muvcha. You are exactly the precious one, the most prized of my world that I want in this world, in this life, for another year. So you're asking Lemancha Elokim, Lemancha Hashem Elokim Chayim. You're asking that you want to have life so you can serve me? That's what it's all about. We are here to serve Hashem. How do we serve Hashem? Each one, the best way they possibly can. Where do we discover that? On Rosh Hashana. On Rosh Hashana, everything is clear. On Rosh Hashana, the king is there. On Rosh Hashana, we leave behind the past, all the things that we didn't do this year. Forget about it. So we didn't accomplish. Forget about it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to drown in your misery. He wants us to move forward in positivity. The Shechina cannot dwell unless a person is happy. If you're beating yourself up all Rosh Hashanah, you will not be happy. If you will not be happy, there will not be Shechina. If there's not Shechina, how are you going to be judged favorably? So if that moment comes, when you feel the shaking, when you feel the intensity, you feel suddenly in your heart a hisoirus, an elevation, an inspiration, don't let it pass you by. Grab onto that moment at that second and make a decision to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'mancha Hashem. It's for you, it's not for me. I'm here to serve you, but the only way that I can serve you is if you give me the abilities to serve you every single day, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Be'ezah Hashem, we will go into a Rosh Hashanah as one person, but with our hard work and our efforts and our davening and our pouring out our hearts and seeing who we can become, we will emerge a Bria Chadasha, a brand new person who has brought himself up as an oila, as an offering to Hashem. And in that zechus, as we are saying, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He wants people like that in the world for another year. And if we'll do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do and we'll try our best, we won't succeed every step of the way, and it's a long 48 hours. It's a long day, 48 hours. There'll be moments when you're into it, and there'll be moments when you're not so into it. Just don't get trapped in the moments when you're not into it. Allow the moments that you are into it to be stronger and better, and Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach will fulfill our task on these glorious days, and Hashem will make a strong decision, because we've made a strong decision to be to Him. HaKadosh Baruch will be to us, and He'll grant each and every one of us a Shana Taiva U'Masuka, the good and the sweet and the wonderful year that all of our hearts desire. Yes, sir.